Guys, so one of the biggest jobs that we need to do in this place is replacing this front door. Basically, when the flat was flooded, the door got smashed in half, and I'll show you what that looks like now. So it was a pretty big deal, and they put on a temporary and emergency door, but what that's meant they've done is out of this solid brick wall, they chiseled out a whole load of this, and then they've put this kind of, they're grade 13 hinges, so they're good, but they've taken a chunk out the wall here, and so the frame doesn't look even. So you've got this edge here, the rebate, and then it just goes flush up into here, and then they've notched it out the wall, which looks odd. And the door is an odd size. So doors come in a range of sizes, but generally speaking, they're either 762mm wide, 813mm wide, or 838mm wide. And then the height is different as well. The height's often, in this case, it's 1981 in millimeters from the top to the bottom, but you can also get them as 2032 millimeters to the top to the bottom. So in this instance, it's a standard height. It's 1981, but the door's an odd width. It's 800mm wide exactly, which suggests to me they've taken an 813 door and then they've trimmed it down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, oh, and the other implication of that is this. If you look down there, that pinches on here, so the door actually bounces off that skirting board there, which isn't a problem necessarily, but you can see where they've had to chop it because it doesn't run flush, it doesn't run up to it, which again looks rubbish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these hinges off, I'm going to take the whole door off, and I'm going to fill all of this, so all of this gets hidden, and I'm going to put a new frame here. I'm not going to replicate this bit here, but I will replicate that there, so that you'll end up with a full frame the whole way down, and the door will sit inside of that, and that way when you open it, the door will sit flush up against here rather than at an angle, and it will look really nice. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reinstate 3 hinges. So they obviously just took one off here, but I think 3 hinges on a door is always better, and I'll talk to you in a little bit when I'm doing it. I've ordered the door, oh, and it's going to be a glazed unit here, double glazed, frosted door with two glazed panels there, so that will look really crisp. And I will talk you through, when the door arrives, I will talk you through how you measure the hinges at the top and bottom, because there is a standard way of doing it. And typically, you'll do 6 inches from the top to the start of the hinge, and 9 inches from the bottom to the bottom of the hinge, generally speaking. And then the middle hinge goes smack bang in the middle. But I'll show you all of that when it comes, and I'll show you how I'm going to make good on this side and add in the frame. The other thing that it allows me to do is it allows me to make up for this here where the frame was put in. I can clear all of this and tidy all of that up, so it'll look really nice when it's done. Good morning, boys and girls. I'm going to be changing the door today, or at least starting to get things ready for it. It may be that it gets fitted tomorrow. Filming today is going to be a little bit tricky because, like, this flat was flooded, flats below were flooded as well. So there is a ton of work going on with a whole load of drilling and all that sort of stuff. All of that noise is out that way, and there's even worse noise down that way from another team of builders. So I will do the best I can to film and show you bits, but it may be that it's all on time lapse and a voiceover, which isn't ideal, but is what it is. So yeah, this is the door. The manufacturer is a company called LPD Doors. That's the manufacturer, and then it was shipped from another website online. It's worth pointing out what I'm going to do first. Once I've taken all the packaging off, I'm just going to offer it up to the door and test it and see and figure out what I'm doing with the frame. But I'm also going to prime the door first, because it's going to make it easier. If I give it prime front and back and leave it to dry, I can then paint it slightly better. It's just going to be easier for me in the long run. Right, the first thing we've got to do is take off this draft excluder. the whole way around the frame. So I'll take this off all the way around. Then we're going to be packing out the frame here and on here. You can see where it doesn't quite fit. I mean, there's a big gap around, hence the draft excluder. So we're just going to start taking this off the whole way around. Right, draft excluder's off on this outside section. Next step is to take the hinges off so I can get at this little draft excluder, and then I can start packing out the frame. A little tip here, always take the bottom one off first and then the top one, because it can hang off the top one much easier and it can balance on the bottom one. And also, I find it easier to take it off the frame side rather than taking it off the door side. Don't know if that's just me or if it's just technique or preference, I'm not sure, but I find that to be quite helpful. Okay, so the next step is to sand this frame down. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to feather the edge of this a little bit. I'm going to put the plane on it and then sand it down. And just feather it down a little bit because obviously I'm bringing the inside frame in, so this outside frame also needs to come in, and I want to blend the two from the new frame to the old frame. And there's this little round over here, so I've got this much to blend, which isn't a problem, that's fine, I can take that off. So I'm going to grab my hand plane, plane that down, and then sand it with that. And I'll do the rest of the frame as well while I'm at it, because this is all going to get a new fresh coat of paint. Hello! Right, this is the front door. It's had the first couple of coats of paint on. That's the inside, that's the outside colour that the client chose. And now I'm starting to fit the locks. Union is a pretty big brand in the UK for locks and bits, and I highly recommend them. This isn't sponsored or anything, but they give you a whole load of instructions and templates, which just makes life so much easier. You know, this is a standard size door. It's 47mm thick. When you line that dotted line up there, right on the edge, you're bang on the middle there, which is just perfect. It makes life so much easier. So then all you need to do is figure out how far up or down you want this. I'm going to fit this mortise lock here in this section, and then I'm going to reuse this lock here. The Yale lock, I'm going to reuse that further up the door, sort of here. So two nice strong fixings, a bolt that you can then remove, take your key out, and then you can open up with the Yale there like that. And I think that will look really nice. So, it's not rocket science, and there are loads of videos on the internet showing how to do this process, and frankly, I'm following a template, so I'm not really going to bother showing you all the how-tos and all the rest of it. That being said, I highly recommend getting something like this. This is a 22mm Auger bit, because you need a 22mm bit to drill out. That's the bit over here this is what the lock, this is what gets recessed into the wall. So you need to drill that thickness out there. So that's well worth getting. The other one they suggest is a 16mm diameter drill bit, which I haven't got, so I'm going to use the 10mm that I've got, and then I can just chisel it out. That's no problem, you'd have to chisel it out anyway. So yeah, I'm just going to line this up now, run the centre points, and then start taking it out. So this is in now, flat and flush, and you can see the keyhole there drilled through. That's got a little cover which goes on it. That's just over there, a little cover plate. What I've done just now is I have started adding on this new additional frame section. So you can see this sits here like this the whole way around, and it's kind of smoothed in there. So I'm just going to sand it down, fill it, sand it, and then prime it and paint it. So the next step is to hang the hinges. Just a quick point to note, I'm going to be putting 3 hinges on. To figure out where they go, the first hinge, the top of the hinge is always 6 inches from the top. The bottom hinge is always, the bottom of the bottom hinge is always 9 inches from the bottom. And then you find the middle and you split the difference there in the middle with the middle hinge. This is the first one done. Nice and flush, and like I showed you, this measures 6 inches from the top of the door to the top of the hinge. So now I've just got to do a couple more. These are all cut in and they're hung on. Nice and flush and straight and square and all that sort of thing. So I'm pleased with that. Once the rest of the door furniture arrives, then I can actually properly hang this door. I've got the lock on there now. I can stick the other one on. I need to leave this door on here tonight. So I'm just going to sand this frame now, give it a coat of paint, and then we should be on our way tomorrow. So I finished installing this doorway. This is the new frame that I've made. It's a bit tricky to see really because of the contrast, but let me see if I can turn on the torch. That just makes things worse. Anyway, these 2 pieces here are the new frames, and they're painted. So that goes the whole way down. So we've got the outer frame and the inner frame. Both of those have been brought out, and then I've just blended them there like that the whole way down and painted it. So I'm just waiting for this paint to set up, and then I'll be able to start cutting the hinges on the frame side. I've put on the lock there. This latch is on there, so that's nice and clean like that. So it's starting to look really nice now. It's coming together, and I'm really pleased with the frame especially. I got rid of all these holes down here that were where they chiseled out the wall. So yeah, that frame looks good. I'm very happy with that. Right, that piece is on there. This is on here. So that latch is shut, and that is the door hung and on, which I'm really pleased with. Definitely looks better having the frame there and matching there, even sided. So I'm really happy with how that's come out. Just a quick one, I'm putting the door furniture on. So we've got the door plate. Here we've got a nice door pull that matches, brushed satin chrome, and a door knocker that matches as well. Oh, and a brushed satin chrome eye hole and chain. So all I've done here is I've cut this relief out the door, and basically the top section accommodates this, the bottom section accommodates the opening of the letterbox, and now all I'm doing is just testing it. It seems like it's pinching a little bit here because I've used a jigsaw and it's just not quite taken the edges out square, so just need to take a little bit more out of the insides, and that'll allow enough space here for this to open. You can actually see where it's sitting on the wood there. So this is quite a good thing to do to test. So I know I've got enough space at the top to accommodate the spring, but the sides need to come square, and it's actually really difficult to get sides square with these. Although the blade itself is square and it cuts square, when they're placed up against the wood, what often happens is it starts to bend a little bit like this and go off at an angle. And that's very common. The way I got the top straight across the top here and here was to go in with a circular saw and just plunge the circular saw in at the top and bottom and along here. but obviously the circular saw was way too big for that. It would have left a massive cut line all up here, so I couldn't do that. So I'm just going to straighten these edges up now, and then that will fit in nicely. It is almost finished. Got the letter plate, which now opens nice and easily. No problems there. Got the lock, cover, got this handle here, which is the pull. That's as was, and then the knocker there, so that can be shut nice and easily. I had not seen that. And that's a wrap on the door. Now I've got this nice little pull here. Opens up. I requested a chain as well, so I've installed that. So it goes in there. That works fine. And I also put a little eye hole in there so you can see out. This covers the inside of the... I have the cover plate for this here, but the screws I've got are too long, so I need to get some really small ones. These are little 1-inch screws. I need some tiny ones, which I've got at home, so I can bring them back tomorrow to cover that. And I need to paint that, and then that is that. We are done. It is finished.